Good day, everybody. It's Andrew here, and welcome back to my channel. Let's talk about $2,000 stimulus checks on Thanksgiving Day. There have been a lot of headlines talking about a potential check being sent on or before Thanksgiving, and we even have your favorite YouTuber, Blind to Billionaire, talking about $2,000 Thanksgiving Day stimulus checks for those who are low income. So let's discuss the details, but first, do me a quick favor, hit like, hit subscribe, and share this channel with anyone who you think might find this helpful. And if you really want to support my work, subscribe to my second channel. The link to that is going to be in the comments of this video. That is the best way you can support my work. On that channel, we're going to have some updates as well, but it's going to be mostly entertainment, a community where I go live. We're going to play live bingo, play the lottery live, play casino games, and since it's live, you'll be able to comment, I can respond. It'll be a fun community, almost to escape the serious topics we talk about on this channel, right? Which are important, so let's jump right into it. Now, we have a lot of things happening with stimulus, right? We have people talking about the stimulus check package, with Bernie Sanders trying to include a stimulus check for seniors. We have the fact that the physical stimulus plan was just approved. Now we're waiting to see how that's going to benefit the economy, as well as create millions of jobs. We had good news that the COLA adjustment is going to be 5.9% for those on Social Security benefits. And then we have Bernie Sanders trying to expand Medicare and the child tax credit in this next stimulus package. Well, a lot of people are saying, should we have a stimulus check for Thanksgiving? Because the price of things are going up and up because inflation has been so strong. See, this article is titled, Thanksgiving Will Cost More This Year. That could cost Democrats too. So what they're saying is that inflation is not only going to cost you in the form of paying higher prices for goods, but it's going to cost Democrats as well because they're probably going to lose midterm elections next year unless they do something to fix this. Rising prices for gas and a holiday meal could come back to bite Democrats who fear that inflation may upend their electoral prospects in the 2022 midterms. See, so that's what a lot of people are saying. Democrats should do a stimulus check now by Thanksgiving. That way, not only can they help the American people with inflation, they can also help themselves to try and win re-election next year in 2022. Now, we've talked about it a lot. Sending stimulus checks helps win elections. We saw it in California when Governor Newsom sent a fourth and even a fifth stimulus check. He won re-election in California. And these Senate seats in Georgia both were won by Democrats who promised a third stimulus check back in January. So obviously, stimulus checks help win elections, and they also help the American people. And the price of your Thanksgiving meal is skyrocketing. Let's take a quick look at this article. This is one reason why people are saying we should have a check now by Thanksgiving, because why wait until December or January to send a stimulus check when you could send a $2,000 stimulus check now and help people have a good holiday season? I mean, let me know in the comments if you agree, guys, because if they're going to send a stimulus check, now is the time to do it. And like I always say, this isn't a handout. This is something you paid taxes for. People on Social Security benefits pay taxes their entire lives, and this is just basically a tax credit. So let me know in the comments, guys. Do you think they should send a $2,000 stimulus check by Thanksgiving? Let me know your thoughts. There are a lot of groups pushing for this. There's headlines all over the place. And like I said, even Blind to Billionaire himself made a video talking about this, and this is gaining a lot of steam. So families look set to feel the pinch as the price of a frozen turkey is up 20% compared to last year. And this is according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics data. So if just a turkey is up 20%, imagine when you think about everything else, like the mashed potatoes, the wine, the cranberry. Let me know your favorite Thanksgiving dish, guys. Let me know in the comments, actually. I'd be really interested to know what your favorite Thanksgiving dish is. But unfortunately, those who are low income, and that affects people on Social Security, SSI, and SSDI the most, these people are on fixed incomes. If you're on Social Security, if you're on SSI, if you're on SSDI, you're on a fixed income, you've worked your entire life, you've paid taxes into the system, and then they give you this fixed payment every month, which isn't enough to live in a life of dignity, right? It's already not enough. Then we have inflation at record highs, making everything expensive: gas, food, rent. And that's hard enough as it is. But then when the holidays come around, You want to enjoy that one day, right? That 1 or 2 days, Thanksgiving, the day after Christmas, Christmas Day, Christmas Eve. You want to be able to escape reality, ignore all the drama, and just enjoy your day with your loved ones, right? And then we have people who are low income or people who are fixed income, like Social Security, being priced out of Thanksgiving meals. I mean, if you could barely afford it to begin with, and then things are going up 25, 30%, how can you be expected to enjoy your Thanksgiving meal? So this is why there is a strong push. $2,000 stimulus checks, folks, by Thanksgiving. That would be truly amazing. Now, the problem is, even if by some miracle they did do this, it would be difficult for it to even arrive by Thanksgiving, right? I mean, a lot of people who have direct deposit do end up getting it like in the first 48 to 72 hours, but it's going to be difficult. But on the one hand, if they did approve it this week, then at least if you know it's coming, you know it's there, right? So you could buy your meals knowing that your bank account is going to be replenished once that $2,000 stimulus check drops. So this is something that a lot of people are pushing for. See, cash-strapped Americans are calling for a $2,000 Thanksgiving stimulus check to be introduced as inflation has massively increased the cost of a holiday meal. Americans on Twitter are saying that by the looks of inflation, Americans are going to need a stimulus check to buy a Thanksgiving turkey. This is something that has a lot of support, guys, and we already know that a lot of Democrats support another stimulus check. Bernie Sanders is obviously trying to include it in this next stimulus package, so why not just do it now before Thanksgiving? Kamala Harris, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Jayapal, AOC, all of these top Democrats support doing another round of stimulus checks. This is why people are saying do it now. Do it before the holidays. And guys, let me know in the comments if you agree. Now, we have this petition for $2,000 per month in stimulus checks until the pandemic is over. This is something we talk about a lot. And if you want to sign this petition, just Google change.org $2,000 stimulus checks. They're about to hit 3 million signatures, guys. That is huge. And people in Congress have been acknowledging this petition. Joe Biden acknowledged it himself. A lot of people are saying that these movements, the social media movements, like the petition that you're looking at right now, these YouTube videos, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all of these social media sites are helping push the message that the American people need help, seniors need a stimulus check, Social Security, SSI, and SSDI need a $2,000 stimulus check. And a lot of experts say that one of the main reasons we even got the third stimulus check was because of social medias like YouTube, because we keep this message alive, and because we are a voice for seniors and a voice for those who are disabled to try and get these stimulus checks approved, to try and get Social Security benefits increased. This is something that it's harder for them to ignore it the more that we make our voice louder, guys. So this is why I tell people, share this channel, share this video with anybody who you think might find this helpful. Get the word out there so Congress can no longer ignore us, guys. We have to have them approve these stimulus checks because, again, this is not just a handout. This is something that you've paid into the tax system for your entire life. Now, of course, one of the main things standing in the way of stimulus checks is Joe Manchin, right? So will we get stimulus checks before November? I'll be honest, it's going to be a long shot, right? It's something people are pushing for. It's something that we're hoping for. But with the fact that Thanksgiving is like 5 or 6 days away, it's looking really tough for that to actually happen, right? But with that said, Bernie Sanders is pushing for a stimulus check in the Build Back Better Act, and it's going to be a $1,000 stimulus check for seniors. At least that's what Bernie Sanders is trying to include. But then, of course, we have Joe Manchin. Joe Manchin trying to take things out of the stimulus package. And he's been getting a lot of heat because people like Bernie Sanders are saying Joe Manchin is a hypocrite because he approved the physical infrastructure stimulus, which actually is going to cost more and add more to the deficit, add more to the national debt than the stimulus package will. But he's saying that the stimulus check package is too expensive. See, this headline is titled, Joe Manchin worries Biden's social spending agenda costs too much. So why did he just vote for an infrastructure bill that costs more? Kind of doesn't make sense, right? He voted and helped approve a physical stimulus plan to rebuild roads, bridges, and highways. A lot of that funding is going to go to coal mines in his state, which he gets a lot of donations from coal companies. So he votes for that. That's going to add more to the national debt. But then he says the Build Back Better, aka stimulus check package, is going to cost too much, so he wants to take things out, right? It's like he's okay spending trillions on certain things that are going to benefit him, but then he's not okay spending a couple $100 billion on checks for seniors. I mean, I'd be really interested to see, is anybody watching my video right now? Are you from West Virginia? Are you a senior in West Virginia? Let me know in the comments below, because it almost seems like Joe Manchin is completely ignoring seniors, even in his own states. I mean, I'm sure there are millions of seniors in West Virginia who could use the stimulus check, guys. So the fact that he thinks that's too expensive, but then he's willing to spend 10 times as much on the military and on physical infrastructure, it really highlights the fact that he really is a hypocrite. I mean, he's doing things that are self-serving. Joe Manchin is among the last obstacles to the Build Back Better stimulus check package approval, but the CBO just blew up his main talking point. He says he wants the package to be fully paid for, and the CBO says it would add $160 billion to the national deficit. Along with several Republicans, Manchin just voted for a physical infrastructure stimulus package that will be even bigger, adding $259 billion to the deficit. So the CBO, which is what Joe Manchin was waiting for, said that the stimulus check package will add $160 billion to the deficit, to the national debt. And he says that's too much. He says it's adding too much debt. It has to be fully paid for. But then he voted to approve the physical stimulus plan, which is going to add $259 billion to the national deficit, right? So about $100 billion more. So how does that make sense, right? I mean, he doesn't want checks to go directly to the American people. We've talked about it. The stimulus check for seniors would cost about $200 billion. So we already have an extra $100 billion here just between the price of what the physical stimulus plan cost and the stimulus check package cost. So we can obviously afford to do checks for seniors, guys. It's just completely hypocritical. Now, Joe Manchin says that government shouldn't spend more than $1 trillion that would add to the deficit. He also said it's okay spending $1 trillion to add to the national deficit. Doesn't make any sense. And Bernie Sanders is actually on record calling him out. Bernie Sanders has been making rounds this week, folks, calling out Joe Manchin any chance he gets. He's done interviews, he's done press conferences, he's actually gone down to the Senate floor and given speeches about the fact that Congress and moderate Democrats and Republicans, they're okay spending trillions of dollars on the military, trillions of dollars on national security, trillions of dollars on physical infrastructure, but they can't spend a couple $100 billion, a fraction of that, on expanding Medicare for seniors, on lowering drug costs for seniors, on creating more affordable housing for seniors, SSI and SSDI, on expanding the child tax credit, which is going to pay monthly stimulus payments to families with kids, on approving stimulus checks for seniors, for SSI and SSDI. Folks, Bernie Sanders is fighting for the American people. He's fighting for seniors, and he's fighting for SSI and SSDI. So I'm going to leave you with a clip from Bernie Sanders to end this video. Probably be about 4 or 5 minutes. He talks about all of these issues and the hypocrisy of spending on all these things, but not spending on helping the American people and pushing for stimulus checks for seniors in this next stimulus package. So guys, with that said, let's take a look, see what Bernie Sanders has to say, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below.
Day after day, here on the floor of the Senate and back in their states, many of my colleagues talk to the American people about how deeply concerned they are about the deficit and the national debt. They tell us that we just don't have enough money to expand Medicare, to cover dental care for seniors, to cover hearing aids, to cover eyeglasses. We just don't have enough money to do what every other major country on earth does, and that is guaranteed paid family and medical leave. At a time when hundreds of thousands of bright young people are unable to afford a higher education and millions are struggling with student debt, my colleagues tell us that we just don't have enough money to provide 2 years of free tuition at community colleges. when we have over 500,000 Americans sleeping out on the streets, including a few blocks away from the nation's capital, we just don't have enough money to build the low-income and affordable housing this country needs. And at a time when the scientists are telling us that we face an existential threat in terms of climate change, we are told that we just don't have enough money to transform our energy system away from fossil fuel and create a planet that will be healthy and habitable for our kids and future generations. Just don't have enough money. Yet today, the U.S. Senate will begin consideration of an annual defense budget that costs $778 billion. $778 billion for 1 year. And that is $37 billion more than President Trump's last defense budget, and $25 billion more than what President Biden requested. And by the way, all of this money is going to an agency, the Department of Defense, that continues to have massive cost overruns year after year, wasting enormous amounts of money, and is the only major governmental agency in the federal government not to successfully complete an independent audit. Now, isn't it remarkable how even as we end the longest war in our nation's history, the war in Afghanistan, concerns about the deficit and the national debt seem to melt away under the influence of the military-industrial complex. People sleeping out on the street, people dying because they don't have any health care, kids unable to get the early childhood education they need, not a problem. Can't afford to pay for those things. But somehow, when it comes to the defense budget and the needs of the military-industrial complex, we just cannot give them enough money. But that is not all, and I want the American people to know this, because I suspect many don't. It is very likely that in the defense bill, or attached to the defense bill, there will be a so-called competition bill. And this bill is a $250 billion bill that includes $52 billion in straight corporate welfare with no strings attached for a handful of extremely profitable microchip companies. Now, is there a problem in that our country is not producing the kind of microchips and the number of microchips that we should? The answer is yes. It's an issue that we have to deal with it. But we can deal with it in a way other than simply handing money to a handful of enormously profitable corporations with no protection for the taxpayer at all. Oh, and by the way, I should also mention that as part of the so-called competition bill, there is also a $10 billion handout to Jeff Bezos, one of the wealthiest people in our country, for space exploration. Combining these two pieces of legislation would push the price tag of the defense bill to over $1 trillion for 1 year. And I want people to remember that, because when we talk about Build Back Better, you talk about a 10-year bill. This is 1 year. Meanwhile, while there is limited discussion about the defense bill or corporate welfare in the competition bill, Congress has spent month after month discussing the Build Back Better Act, which on an annual basis costs far less than the Pentagon budget, and discussing whether or not we can afford to protect the working families of our country whose needs have been ignored decade after decade, who in many cases are living paycheck to paycheck, can't afford housing, can't afford prescription drugs, can't afford to send their kids to college. We can't address their needs. No, no, no. Because we're too busy worrying about throwing money at the Pentagon and large profitable corporations.